यमुनातीरावनचारी जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शिष्यमन ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की सवेद गौर भक्त वृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all Gurus assembled devotees, all Gurus assembled devotees, all Gurus assembled devotees, all Gurus, Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 18, Description of Varnashram Dharma, Text number 20. Ekascharen mahimetam Ekascharen mahimetam Nissanga samyatendriya Nissanga samyatendriya Atmakrida atmarata Atmakrida atmarata Atmavan samadarshana Atmavan samadarshana Ekascharen mahimetam Nissanga samyatendriya Atmakrida atmarata आत्मवान् समदर्शनः एकश्चरेन्महिमेताम् निस्सङ्गः संयतेन्द्रिय आत्मक्रीडा आत्मरतः आत्मवान् समदर्शनः एकश्चरेन्महिमेताम् निस्सङ्गः संयतेन्द्रिय आत्मक्रीडा आत्मरतः आत्मवान् समदर्शनः एकश्चरेन्महिमेताम् निस्सङ्गः संयतेन्द्रिय आत्मक्रीडा आत्मरतः आत्मवान् समदर्शनः एकश्चरेन्महिमेताम् निस्सङ्गः संयतेन्द्रियः आत्मक्रीडा आत्मरतः आत्मवान् समदर्शनः Mataji's एकश्चरेन्महिमेतान् निस्सङ्गः संयतेन्द्रिय आत्मक्रीडा आत्मरतः आत्मवान् समदर्शनः एकः alone charet one should move about mahim the earth etam this nissangah without any material attachment samyata indriya completely controlling the senses atma krida enthusiastic by realization of the super soul atma radha completely satisfied in spiritual understanding atmavan steady on the spiritual platform samadarshanaha with equal vision everywhere. Translation and purport by the servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Without any material attachment, with senses fully controlled, remaining enthusiastic and satisfied in realization of the Supreme Lord and his own self, the saintly person should travel about the earth alone, having equal vision everywhere. He should be steady on the spiritual platform. Purport: one who remains attached to material sense gratification cannot be steady in the process of chanting Hare Krishna. Being shackled by illusory desires, he is not able to fully control the senses. Actually, one should take shelter of the devotional service to Lord Krishna 24 hours a day. For by such service one remains within the scope of spiritual reality. By chanting and hearing the holy names of the Lord, along with the Lord's glories and pastimes, one naturally drifts away from the field of material sense gratification. Good association with Lord Krishna and his devotees automatically vanquishes useless material association, and one is able to carry out the Vedic injunctions meant to lift the conditioned soul out of the material field and onto the liberated platform of Krishna consciousness. In this regard, Srila Rupa Goswami states in his Upadeshamrita, verse 4, Dadati pratigrirnati guhyamakyati pichati bhungte bhojayate chaiva shadvidham priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam, and offering prasadam are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. One who thus learns to associate with the Lord's devotees actually remains insulated from the contamination of material life. By pure association, one gradually understands the name, form, qualities, associates, pastimes, and devotion service of Lord Sri Krishna. And thus, even in this lifetime, one can become a resident of the spiritual world. In the association of pure devotees, there is no material contamination and no useless discussion. Since all pure devotees are fully engaged 24 hours a day in the loving service of the Lord, by the influence of such devotees, one develops equal vision, samadarshana, and sees the realized knowledge of Krishna consciousness everywhere. As one begins to understand his eternal relationship with Lord Krishna, he becomes Atmavan, situated in his constitutional position. An advanced Vaishnava, constantly enjoying the mellows of loving devotional service and carrying out the mission of the Lord on the earth, is Atma Krida, one who enjoys life within the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. The advanced devotee remains constantly attracted to the Supreme Lord and his devotees and is therefore Atma Rataha, fully satisfied by constant engagement in devotional service. One cannot possibly develop the exalted qualities mentioned here without becoming an unalloyed devotee of Lord Krishna. One who is envious of the Lord and his devotees becomes attracted to bad association, gradually loses control of the senses and falls down into the network of impious life. The innumerable varieties of non-devotees are like branches sprouting from the single tree of enviousness of the Supreme Lord, and their association should be given up by all means. Without unallowed devotional service to the Lord, one loses touch with the desire and mission of the personality of Godhead and becomes attracted to worshipping the wonderful male and female creations of the Lord's illusory energy, demigods, demigoddesses, celebrities, politicians, prostitutes, etc. In this way, one foolishly considers something besides Lord Krishna to be supremely wonderful. Actually, Lord Krishna is the only true object of worship for those desiring to experience unlimited beauty and pleasure. By seriously taking to Krishna consciousness, one can realize the transcendental position of Lord Krishna and gradually develop all the qualities mentioned in this verse. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees for today morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, and seek all the devotees' blessings for speaking something that is valuable and something that will help us to perform our bhakti better, and please Guru and Gauranga. So this is a section where Varnashram Dharma is being described, and to most of us it will be like, how do the Eskimos live? And most of these descriptions seems to be like that we are not able to relate most of the things that are being said, that how somebody who is a sannyasi, he just goes and begs at different houses and he never argues with others about the food. And in this beautiful verse, it is being said that Ekascharen Mahimetan, that he traverses the whole world alone. Mahim is earth, not the Mahim that we have in Bombay. That even if you have to go to Mahim, Brahmachari is like, for flower seva we go together. So, but somebody who is self-realized or who is on the path of self-realization, he has to move about alone, and seems to be some kind of contradiction with Krishna conscious philosophy, especially Rupa Goswami and all our acharyas. They suggest that one should not try to perform devotional service alone, because the mind takes over. That when you are alone, the mind is one that just starts dictating to you. So, in one sense, when you are not dictated by your mind, then you are alone. But when you are being constantly dictated by your mind, you are in a bad company, especially an uncontrolled mind. Therefore, in this verse, it is said that Samyatendriya, that because a self-realized soul, a sadhu, a sannyasi, because his senses are under control, therefore his movement in this world is not for gratifying his senses. Usually we all go here and there, jivera lalasa hoye, iti utidai. That being forced by the tongue, we go to so many places. Even in Bombay there is so many best things that are available in different parts of Bombay. If you go to this particular place, you get the best sandwich. Recently somebody was telling me. If you go to this particular part, you get the best dosha, you get the best burger or the best pizza. And then people are constantly searching and they are moving about here and there, trying to gratify their senses, their eyes, their nose, their ears. But a sannyasi, a sadhu, he moves about not pulled by the senses. And one example that comes to my mind is the example of the gopis. When Lord Krishna, at the dead of the night, he played his flute. Krishna had different tunes for calling different devotees. So at dead of night, when he played his flute, each of those devotees, those gopis, they thought Krishna is calling me personally, not calling us. He is calling me. And therefore, Ekascharen, they went out of their home searching for Krishna into the forest. It's not that, okay, because we are going in a group, therefore there is no fear. Recently, we were walking in one of the forests, And then suddenly this thought came, what if there are some wild animals? We also saw from quite far some not cruel animals but wild animals. And this thought suddenly comes, and then we pacified ourselves saying that no, this is a populated place, people keep walking here, and we also have others, so don't worry. But to go alone into a forest, and that too not to gratify one's own senses, the gopis, they left to satisfy the senses of Krishna, and therefore every sadhaka, he has to be seeking Krishna, he has to be moving about in his life to want to find Krishna. And especially the word brahmachari, brahmacharati, that one who is trying to search, one who is trying to walk towards Brahman, towards the bigger reality, towards the ultimate truth. He is a brahmachari or a sannyasi. And sannyas also comes from this word nyasa. Nyasa means to place something. And when one is perfectly placed, how does one behave? When one is perfectly placed in his constitutional position as a servant of the Supreme Lord, then how does one behave? And many times when these kinds of verses come, especially it is said that one should just depend on the Lord and go into the forest. The question often comes is that does dependence on the Supreme Lord goes against making arrangement for our own safety or for our own welfare? It is said that once a blind saint, there was a elephant that was chasing him, that was running towards them. And immediately this devotee, he went and climbed on a tree. And then there was another person who asked him that you don't have faith that your Ram, because you are constantly chanting the name of Ram, that he will protect you from this elephant. And then this devotee, this saint said that the Lord protects, but he has already given me the ability to protect. That ability is also given by the Lord. And another thing he said is that the whole purpose for which God has given me some abilities is so that I can use them in serving Him, not that I keep calling Him in my service. If I can protect myself and serve the Lord, then that is better than just being blindly depending on the Lord and thinking that Lord will protect. Of course, when Gajendra was helpless, being caught by the crocodile, he called out to the Lord. When Draupadi was helpless, she called. It's a natural instinct, natural desire of everyone to call out. Even small child, as soon as he gets a hurt, he immediately calls out his mother, I. And so making arrangements with this proper understanding that even the ability to make arrangements is being given by Krishna, and if some arrangements don't happen, I should not become anxious. I should not start to go into a kind of anger towards the Lord or some kind of self-denial that I am not a proper devotee. And His Holiness Kadam Kanan Maharaj was giving this example of an ant in the summer time. It was working very hard, taking all the food into its hole. And there was a cricket, another animal, that was saying, this is summer time, you should just chill out, you should go out and Of course, this is in the, not in India, but in the West, where summer is pleasurable and winters are painful. Bombay, it may be the other way. But so the cricket was saying that you are working so hard, what is the need? Instead of enjoying, you are just working hard. But when the winter time came, where there was snow everywhere, it was freezing, chilling winters, then the cricket had no food to eat anywhere and no shelter. And that time it came to the ant. Till now it was complaining. It was kind of criticizing the ant that you are working so hard. But then the cricket comes to the ant for shelter and asks that, can you please provide me some food and shelter? Roti, kapda and makan. And the ant naturally gives shelter and says that making the arrangements is knowing the nature of this world, that how the nature of this world is there, and therefore it is not somebody who is foolish that makes the arrangement, but somebody who is wise, knowing the situation of the world, he makes arrangements. But then is the other side to it, that we become so busy with making arrangements for future that there is no end to it. There was a video that was recorded about some of the hard-working millionaires in United States, and they were asked, do you think the amount of money you have is sufficient? And almost none of them, they thought that the amount of money they have is sufficient, because the mind was projecting a kind of situations in which the amount of money they have will be gone. What if this investment goes and then they will be bankrupt and this and that. So therefore they were constantly working hard to keep up, to think that the arrangements that I make are sufficient. I had a friend when I was studying at IIT, and similar kind of understanding, kind of mindset, that I don't want to gain much in this world. I just want enough so that whatever I want I can do. Whatever I want I can do. But in this, that want keeps growing. Once you are riding in a, say, local train, you may think that when I get enough money for a taxi, I'll be happy. But then taxi goes to the car goes to the maybe air conditioned, then your own car. So this whole thing never ends. And we have the example of Madhavendra Puri, who just depended on the Lord, and he saw that yes, the Lord actually takes care when you are having those qualities. Nissanga samyatendriya atma krida, when your only purpose for which you are existing is for the service and realization of the Lord. And therefore the initial part of one's existence in this world is where you make arrangements so that you can be safe. And once you understand that no matter how much arrangements you make, it is not sufficient. That is one realization that one gets. Another is that you form your identity properly, that who exactly you are. And once this identity is formed, then the ego is much easier to allow you to pursue something beyond the ego. Else when the ego is very disturbed, like it is said, some child, when he doesn't get love as a kid, then for whole life he is hankering for that love. As Bhakti Maharaj says, that everything in this world is either an expression of love or a cry for love. And when the child doesn't get love in his childhood, then his whole life he may be hankering for it. Or if somebody is not healthy in the initial years, he doesn't invest in his health properly, then he may spend later part of his life yearning for health which doesn't come. Because what goes in the initial years is very important. That's what makes the building blocks. And same thing with how a conditioned soul lives in this world, that first he has to find his situation, his conditioned situation, how exactly he can be satisfied and serve the Lord. And once he finds his comfort zone, then he has to leave his comfort zone to see that how it is not that he will be happy only in that comfort zone that he has created, but if he is connected to the Supreme Lord, then he can find that anywhere. Like a landline is connected with a wire or a LAN, and then we have Wi-Fi or mobiles. Now mobiles you can connect anywhere, but that's an advanced technology. The initial technology that came was that you had a phone that you had to pick up, so you are situated at a place. But once you grow in your connection with the Lord, then you can actually go out, and that's why Vanaprastha is a very important stage where one starts to make an exit plan. All of us, it's not that this is something unnatural. Anytime when we go and sit in a local train, we do this. As soon as you sit, depending on where you have to get down, you start making an exit plan. And which kind of train you sit. If you are sitting in the evening time towards Virar, then you will choose a proper train according to the place where you have to get down. And even when you are inside the train, you are constantly assessing how is the crowd filling up. And why you are assessing? Because you know at a particular stop you have to get out of the train. You are not meant to just to be in the local train going from station to station from Churchgate to Virar, but you are supposed to get down at some place. And most people, especially those who are new to this whole culture of heavily packed local trains, many of them, they are unable to get down at the station which they want to get down. Because they think, okay, I am at Dadar and I have to get down at Andheri, so there are a few more stations, so they are sitting comfortably in their window seat till maybe Santa Cruz or Ville Parle. And then once they get up, they don't even have one foot to step because it's super packed. It's maybe a Virar fast train and super packed. And at that time, they start becoming restless. That I want to get down, and almost everybody will start chastising them. And what to speak if you have a big baggage? If you have a big baggage, or sometimes our preachers take hot khichdi dabbas, and then it's giving everyone nice those shocks, and everybody is kind of chastising. If you have to get down at Andheri, why did you get into Virar train? So each of us, it is quite when we know where we have to get down and what are all the difficulties that come, then we plan. But unfortunately for the human life, we think that this train will be in this train forever. And as death comes closer, it is like maybe at Ville Parle or Santa Cruz, the person starts to realize I need to get down. But now he is so attached, he is so entangled with all these things that it is very difficult for him, and therefore he keeps on taking birth after birth, not unable to come out of his entanglements. And sometimes when we have some kind of wound, we put a bandage, and we all know that if it is a hairy part of your body, And then along with the wound getting healed, the hair also gets stuck to the bandage. And now the wound is has been healed, but then if you want to remove the bandage, it's kind of a very big trauma, because every hair follicle that is there, that is attached to that bandage, gives you such a nightmare to be able to pull it. So if a normal bandage creates such a trouble to remove, what to speak of all the bondage that we get attached to. We may think that I need to heal myself, but initially everything appears to be like a bandage. This is going to heal me. But that same bandage becomes a bondage. We are stuck in that kind of situation with a person or a thing, and those same things that are around us start to give us trouble. Therefore, Bhakti Maharaj also wrote this book called as Die Before You Die. That even before you die physically, you start to give up all your attachments, all your entanglements that are there with around you, so that when you are going to get down from the station from this body, then there is no kind of hankerings. Because if hankering is there in our local train thing, nobody will push us back. But Yamaraj he sees that if this person has even one hankering, then again put us back into the local train again. That you have to again go through the process of cycle of birth and death. And so therefore it is a duty of every sadhaka to not only to take up services and responsibilities, but also at the right time to be able to let them go. Because after a while, instead of you serving them, they start to serve you, and that's when they start becoming a bondage. When Parikshit Maharaj, he was leaving his body, and one of the questions that were asked by the sages, one of the questions that was asked is Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye. That Parikshit Maharaj's body was a shelter to all the living entities, because he was such a righteous king. All Kali could not enter, and such a king, he had to leave his body. So why was he giving up his body willingly? Because Parikshit Maharaj could always have counteracted Shringi's curse, because he was powerful as a devotee, but he didn't counteract. In fact, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that he didn't even go back to beg forgiveness from Shamik Rishi for putting that dead snake around him, because he was thinking that if I ask forgiveness from the sage will feel very sorry that he didn't respect him. When Parikshit was thirsty, he didn't give him water. So he didn't want the sage, the other devotee, to feel I couldn't do my service properly, because when he goes to beg forgiveness, naturally he has to tell the whole story. So he didn't want to put the other sage in a position of awkwardness. So therefore he didn't even go, and he accepted that curse. And one who was protected by the Supreme Lord, if he prays to the Supreme Lord for protection, naturally he will be removed from the curse. But Shivaya Lokasya Bhavaya Bhutaye Ya Uttama Shloka Parayana Jana. Because he was a soul surrendered to the Supreme Lord, he was Parashrayam, he was a shelter to all the devotees, all the citizens of that planet, of the earth planet. Then Nirvichya Mumocha Nirvidya Kutak Kalevaram. then why did he give up such kind of body that was a shelter? And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that Shivaya Lokasya, that Shiva means to do is auspiciousness. And he was definitely a source of auspiciousness for the world. But auspiciousness he was giving in two ways. One was Bhavaya and another was Bhutaya. And Bhavaya means, Bhutaya means he was giving auspiciousness to all the conditioned souls, all the citizens of his planet, by making them materially wealthy and comfortable. That he was ensuring that everyone is comfortably situated and their wealth is increasing, their happiness is increasing. That is Bhutaya. And Bhavaya, Vishwanath Thakur says that he was also helping them in extinguishing material life. Bhavaya, the Bhava, the repeated cycle of birth and death, he was also helping them to cross over that. So both he was helping. One is to stay comfortably in this world and also to get out properly. And unfortunately, most of the leaders in today's day and age, they only show the first part. They are only concerned that the nation or the citizens should be wealthy, comfortable, happy. At least they promise that. But the second, that they should be, their material life should be extinguished and they take up spiritual life and they go back to Godhead, they should not get one more birth, is not at all a concern. But Parikshit Maharaj, he wanted to also set proper example for that. His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj, he was telling a story about Bhaktitirtha Maharaj's childhood. That Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, as we know, that he was amazingly compassionate. In fact, when he saw the sufferings of the devotees, he prayed to the Lord that let all the suffering that our society is going through now, let it all come upon me so that all the devotees can be happy. Same way in the mood of Vasudeva Dutt, he was praying. And then very soon he contracted that melanoma cancer, and amazing example of how he left his body. But the Maharaj was explaining that one of the initial seeds of this compassion that he had came from his childhood, from his mother. And Bhaktivedanta Maharaj was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, one of the highly black populated cities in United States. And in fact, he was raised in a ghetto, like we have Dharavi or some kind of slum areas, and heavy violence everywhere and heavy unrest, constant stealing and robbing and killing was normal day for them. But even in spite of all such situations, whenever there was another boy, his friend that Bhaktivedanta Maharaj used to bring to his home, to his place, the mother, they were also poor, if that child had any torn clothes, if the child was not wearing proper clothes, then she used to give what was his name? John Favors, Bhaktivedanta Maharaj, John Favors, she used to give his own clothes to that boy to wear. It's not that they had a huge set of clothes or there was some source for them, but the mother was showing that it's not just that in situations of adversity we only think about ourselves, but we also think about others and do as much good as we can possible. And that created a very strong impression in him, and often that example is very much missing, that till old age somebody is just living for one's own self, and then when old age comes, then naturally people start not respecting you much, because they were only respecting of the money that you are bringing, and now the money is not being brought, then you start losing respect. So there is wrong attitude in from both sides. But Parikshit Maharaj, he didn't want to be in that situation where he was attached till the last breath of his life. So therefore he was very happy, although he was very young, but because this curse has come upon him, he wanted to show the proper example of accepting the will of the Lord as one's destiny, and being grateful in that situation. And another story that of one who gave up everything and came to the shelter of the Lord is Vibhishana. Recently Ram Navami has happened, so everybody is also meditating on different characters of in the Ramayana. And Vibhishana, he also was wonderfully situated. In fact, he was in a golden palace, golden city. And although he was in a golden city, he saw that the consciousness was very low. And one devotee was explaining that Ayodhya geographically is towards north, and Kishkinda is in the middle, and Lanka is towards the south. And same way the consciousness also in all these three places, consciousness in Lanka is way down, very selfish and materialistic. In Kishkinda it is you help me, I help you. And in Ayodhya it is of a high nature of wanting to help and serve others. So Vibhishana naturally, although he was in that Lanka surrounded by selfish propaganda, he didn't subscribe to it. In fact, he raised his voice to Ravana saying that this is not proper what we are doing, what is being proposed, that Sita belongs rightfully to Ram and you have kidnapped her and we should give her back. In fact, if you don't give her back, then there will only be destruction. And everyone was suggesting, Mandodari was suggesting, Vibhishana was suggesting, his brother Kumbhakarna also suggested, and his cousin brother, they also suggested, but he was not hearing. And finally a situation came where Vibhishana was being seen as a traitor, somebody who was not accepting the interests of his brother, and he was told to get out. And when he was coming out, same Ekas Charet, he was coming out alone with all his wealth and his position left alone, and he came to surrender to the Lord. But of course there were his four loyal servants that said, we also will want to come with you. And as he was coming, there was a mace which he took along with him, and he came to surrender to the Lord. But Sugriva and all others, they were not willing to accept that who is this Ravana's brother coming to surrender. This seems to be a whole plot. And of course Sugriva didn't agree. In fact, Sugriva said that he is folding his hands, but he is also having a weapon behind next to in his hands. So what kind of surrender is this? Surrender means you give up everything, all weapons. But why is he carrying a weapon? And everybody was so Sugriva suggested that we should kill this person because he has come in guise of a friend as a surrendered person, but ultimately he is going to leak all our secrets. He has come as a spy. But of course in the story, Vibhishana is just waiting is patiently waiting for the Lord to see his genuine desire to serve him and surrender to him. And then one of the devotees, one of the monkeys, he says that the weapon is not the mace that he is carrying, because the mace cannot do anything to destroy or to to subjugate the Lord. But these hands which he is folding, these are a greater weapon by which the Lord becomes very much surrendered. And ultimately when Hanumanji was asked, Hanumanji, what is your opinion? Then Hanumanji says that, no, I saw Vibhishan was having a very good character. In fact, he was the one who told Ravana not to kill, because he is a messenger and maybe some punishment can be given. And he was the one who saved, and I saw him, he was constantly chanting your name, so please let him go. And that time Ram accepts Hanumanji's petition, but he says that even in your petition there is a fault. He says that you have said that because Vibhishana is of good character and he has helped the devotees, therefore he is worthy of my surrender, of me being accepted. But even if Vibhishan is not having a good character, even then I am willing to accept him. Because in future people will think that only if I have zero faults, then only the Lord will accept me. But I want to show to the world that no matter how many faults you have, how many limitations you have, if you just come to me, I will accept him. And he says, Sakridevo prapannoyam tavasmiti yachate. That even if once one says, folds his hands and says, I am yours, I am willing to accept him, even if it is Ravana. And there was one more thing that was spoken there, that in fact Vibhishana had to come from Lanka till here to surrender, which I am feeling is not right on my part. As soon as Vibhishana wanted to surrender, I should have gone to Lanka to accept his surrender. Just like when Gajendra cried out, I didn't expect Gajendra to come to me, I went to him. So when my devotees call out to me in surrender, I am the one who was supposed to go. So even in this situation, Lord Ram was feeling that, and I am not done my duty properly, and then ultimately he accepts Vibhishana. So it is said Lord Ram, he gives fearlessness. Abhayam sarvada tasmai. He gives abhaydan. And then Lord Krishna, in Gita sarvadharmant parityaja, he says that I make somebody sinless. If you surrender to me, do not fear of any sinful reactions. So Ram gives the promise of fearlessness, and Lord Krishna gives the promise of sinlessness, that you become sinless. But the Kali Yuga avatar, Lord Chaitanya, when you surrender to him, what does he give? Not just fearless, sinless, but he makes you envyless. That in the forest of Jarikhanda, when all the animals, they heard Lord Chaitanya chanting the holy names, they all gave up their envy. In fact, this envy is a root cause of sin, and sin is the root cause of fear. So when by taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya, when one becomes envyless, then naturally one becomes sinless, and once someone becomes sinless, naturally one becomes fearless. And when one becomes fearless because of not having any envy, then even if he sees a lion or any animal, he doesn't fear. And that's the quality of a sannyasi, that ekas charain mahi metan, that he is able to traverse in this world without any fear, because he has no envy of losing something, and he is fully loving each and every soul in this world as a part and parcel of the Lord. And how can I serve and help others in their progress? And we have the story of Narada Muni also. Narada Muni also, once he became surrendered after his purification, then he went out into the world. It's not that he was just roaming alone, but he was going out and helping different individuals. The whole Bhagavatam is list of all the disciples of Narada Muni that he helped by going in different places. So the joy of a devotee, Atma Krida, is to go and help others to take Krishna consciousness, which is in itself a very dynamic event when you help others to, and that's the joy that devotees feel. So I'll like to stop here and thank you all for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki